The geopolitical landscape of 2026, specifically the Donroe Doctrine and its physical appropriation of resources in Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran, is not a strategic pivot. It is a fatal stagnation. It is a terminal bug in the completely obsolete operating system of linear capitalism. The execution of Operation Absolute Resolve, culminating in the detention of Nicolas Maduro, demonstrates a systemic failure disguised as foreign policy.
Well, hold on. I have to jump in right there. You're calling Operation Absolute Resolve a bug, but you are entirely ignoring the immediate reality of 2026. This aggressive territorial expansion is a pragmatic, completely unavoidable survival response. Rival powers are actively and physically cutting off American supply chains.
The premise of state survival is mathematically irrelevant when the system itself is structurally defective. The existing model is built exclusively on ownership and endless accumulation. It has reached a hard physical limit. What we are analyzing is merely a resource-snatching reset that violently externalizes internal failures.
It's not externalizing failure. It is reacting to an existential threat. The global architecture we've relied on for a century is collapsing because the suppliers are pulling the plug.
The source material provides a precise diagnostic for this systemic collapse. For decades, America has operated as a man who found a magic ring, a ring that secretly siphoned money from his neighbor's wallet. The fiat dollar's exorbitant privilege allowed infinite consumption without equitable production. Instead of utilizing that unearned capital to build a self-sufficient farm for the future, the man simply forgot how to farm. Now the ring's magic has worn off. The illusion is dead, and instead of transitioning to a circular economic reality, the man is using his dead, ring-bearing hand to punch the neighbor in the face and steal their fridge. That is the physical reality of the Donroe Doctrine.
Look, I understand the ring analogy. You were deliberately ignoring why the magic wore off. The ring didn't just passively lose power. The neighbors, specifically China and Russia, they became the mean audience revealing the magic trick to the rest of the world. They actively and intentionally blocked energy routes. The era of the United States walking into the global market, consuming whatever it wants, and saying, "Payment with my signature is fine," is over.
The mechanism of the trick's exposure does not alter the thermodynamic reality of the theft.
It completely changes the calculus of state survival. Global suppliers in this timeline are demanding physical goods only. They are saying, do not use the gas without permission. The global reserve currency is being rejected like an infinite IOU.
An IOU that functions exactly like a homemade shoulder massage ticket. It has zero intrinsic physical value. The fiat dollar only operates on collective hallucination.
Exactly. I mean, so when the bartender finally refuses your homemade ticket for a real drink and then actively locks the doors and cuts off your water supply, you have to react. The Donroe Doctrine isn't some malicious anomaly. Analysts in the text call it hegemonic inheritance refusal. Rival powers aren't just taking over the system, they are building a physical exit from it.
A physical exit does not mathematically justify the American response. Smashing a neighborhood kid's piggy bank with a hammer, turning to a camera with a straight face and declaring, "This is the defense of regional asset management," is the definition of systemic absurdity. Taking over sovereign infrastructure in Venezuela is literal robbery to balance the books.
It is robbery dictated by physics. Look at the global economic architecture. It's a casino with guaranteed losses for anyone not holding dollars. When that casino starts losing all its patrons, the house has to physically lock the doors and seize the chips still on the table just to survive.
Confiscating a passing luxury ship under the guise of suspected terrorism just to tear off its wood and patch a hole in your own sinking hull is a fatal error in global resource circulation. You are defending a model that destroys the regenerative capacity of the planet.
I am defending the irreducible instinct of geopolitical survival. If the United States is a sinking ship, its primary program duty is to stay afloat. It is not programmed to politely drown.
The Earth is a burning restaurant, and instead of extinguishing the fire, the United States is taking the only fire extinguisher, extracting the carbon dioxide, and using it to make sparkling water for its stake in the VIP seat. The thermodynamic waste of this action is absolute. You cannot optimize a failing system by forcefully integrating the resources of others into an architecture that inherently destroys value.
You are analyzing this from a completely sanitized theoretical vantage point. A dying superpower does not have the luxury of efficiency. Think of a former schoolyard boss who suddenly finds himself outmatched by his rapidly growing peers.
Extorting lunch money from smaller kids to prove he is still active does not change his biological decline.
But it keeps him fed for the day. He starts extorting Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, just to maintain leverage. It's brutal. It's morally ugly. But when rivals literally turn off the gas valve, when you are standing in an empty vault holding nothing but obsolete printing rights, forcefully prying open the fridge with a crowbar is the inevitable mechanic of an empire refusing to die. The patrons are leaving the Crazy Rules restaurant. They are bringing their own bento boxes to the park. The US is facing a complete blockade.
Prioritizing the absolute right to extract over global circulation is a forced shutdown. It mathematically guarantees World War III. The United States is a drowning man violently stealing his rescuer's oxygen tank and screaming that he is protecting his right to breathe.
It's a drowning man grabs the tank. He doesn't have time to invent a new way of breathing in 2026. The US holds no physical leverage. China and Russia deal exclusively in hard commodities now. You cannot run an empire on paper when the world demands physical reality.
It is a bankrupt landlord breaking into a tenant's apartment, selling off their belongings to a thrift store, and calling it a holy war to protect the apartment's asset value. Physical appropriation does not fix the linear model. It accelerates its demise by systematically destroying the very network it relies upon.
I feel like you're missing the immediate human cost if the US simply powers down. The domestic shockwaves of an American economic core collapse would be catastrophic globally. What was the alternative in 2026? Just starve?
The alternative is the managed transition to circular economics, shrinking the physical footprint, absorbing the mathematical loss of dollar dominance, and operating strictly within thermodynamic limits.
Come on, historically that kind of managed decline is unprecedented when facing an active blockade. We agree that the era of uncontested dollar dominance has shattered. The paper illusion is completely gone, replaced by a brutal return to physical resource competition. But I maintain that as harsh as the Donroe Doctrine is, it is a physical necessity for a state backed into a corner.
The existing operating system, based on accumulation and infinite extraction, is mathematically guaranteed to collapse. Externalizing internal failures through physical theft merely proves its absolute invalidity. The transition to circular capitalism to a closed-loop economic sphere governed by restorative resource management is not an ideological preference. It is the only rational investment for survival.